Could a movie actually stop your heart? Sounds like something straight out of a horror flick, right? But for a handful of people, this nightmare allegedly became terrifyingly real. Imagine the jump scares, the building dread, the shocking climax of a horror movie being the very last thing you ever see. We're about to look into some chilling stories of deaths that have been reportedly linked to watching horror films. Movies have an undeniable power to stir up our emotions. We laugh, we cry, we grip our seats in suspense. But can that emotional roller coaster, especially the pure terror whipped up by horror movies, actually be deadly? There are a few unsettling tales out there that suggest in super rare and extreme cases it just might. One of the oldest and most talked about cases is tied to the 1955 British sci-fi horror The Creeping Unknown, also known as the Quatermass Experiment. The film is about an astronaut who comes back to Earth infected with an alien bug that slowly turns him into a monster. It's a classic of its time, but for one young boy, it allegedly became a lot more than just a movie. Reports from back then claim that during a screening in Illinois, a 9-year-old boy's artery ruptured and he died. Now, details are a bit fuzzy, and old stories can be tough to nail down with 100% certainty. But this incident often pops up as a creepy example of a film supposedly leading to a viewer's death. An autopsy apparently showed the boy had an undersized heart, a pre-existing condition his parents didn't even know about. This makes you wonder if the film's intensity might have pushed an already vulnerable system too far. Flash forward to 2016, and another horror film, The Conjuring 2, got linked to a viewer's death. This supernatural horror, part of a hugely popular series, follows paranormal investigators Ed and Lorraine Warren. During a showing in Tiruvannamalai, India, a 65-year-old man reportedly complained of chest pains during the movie's climax and then passed out. He was rushed to a nearby hospital but was pronounced dead on arrival. Doctors thought it was a heart attack. The story got even weirder when the man's body, along with the friend who was with him, supposedly vanished while being moved for an autopsy, which, as you can imagine, just added fuel to the media fire. While a medical event like cardiac arrest was the likely culprit, the fact that it happened during a super scary scene made many connect it directly to the film's intensity. Another incident reportedly happened in India in 2015 during a screening of the Telugu horror comedy Raju, Gadi. This movie is about reality TV contestants trying to survive in a haunted house. A 55-year-old man in Hyderabad supposedly died of a heart attack while watching it. Theatre staff said he'd tried to leave the auditorium twice but came back, and he was found dead after the movie ended. It was later suggested that his own poor mental state and a recent personal tragedy could have played a part, with the film's scares possibly being the trigger. And it's not just horror flicks that have been anecdotally tied to such extreme reactions. In 2009, a 42-year-old man in Taiwan died from a stroke after watching James Cameron's sci-fi epic Avatar. Now, Avatar is a million miles away from a horror movie, but doctors said his death was due to overexcitement from watching the movie. This really shows that any super intense movie experience could potentially have physical effects on people who are susceptible. These stories, while pretty alarming, often involve folks who already had health issues. Medical experts say that extreme fear can trigger something called stress cardiomyopathy, sometimes nicknamed broken heart syndrome. Basically, a massive surge of adrenaline can temporarily weaken the heart muscle. For people with underlying heart problems, this intense physical reaction could, in very, very rare cases, be fatal. And then, of course, there's The Exorcist, which came out in 1973. This film is legendary for the wild reactions it caused. There were widespread reports of people fainting, throwing up, and having full-blown panic attacks. Some theaters supposedly even kept smelling salts on hand, and ambulances were sometimes parked nearby. A psychiatric journal even documented cases of cinematic neurosis brought on by the film. While there aren't any widely documented confirmed deaths solely from watching the movie, the sheer level of physical and mental distress it caused was unlike anything seen before, and really cemented its place as a film that deeply and physically messed with its audience. These examples really drive home an important point. Movies are powerful. They're designed to get strong emotional responses out of us. For most people, this is a thrilling and perfectly safe way to be entertained. But for a tiny number of individuals, especially those with specific health vulnerabilities, the intensity can, tragically, just be too much. It's important to remember these are isolated incidents, often blown up by media sensationalism, and definitely not a sign that horror films are inherently out to get you. So, while real-world deaths from sheer movie terror are, thankfully, incredibly rare and usually complicated situations, the way death is shown in horror films is a whole other ballgame. In the fictional worlds on screen, death is often front and center, and some films have become famous not for scaring viewers to death, but for the mind-boggling number of characters they kill off. Let's switch gears and look at the movies that rack up some of the highest on-screen kill counts ever. This is a different kind of movie deadliness, one based on body counts, just a tally of fictional lives snuffed out for story, shock, or sheer spectacle. One film that often comes up in high kill count discussions, and kind of surprisingly since it's from way back, is The Invisible Man from 1933. In this universal classic, Dr. Jack Griffin figures out how to become invisible, but the process also makes him go completely bonkers. His rampage includes individual murders, but the biggest hit to his kill count comes when he causes a train derailment, which reportedly kills over 100 people. Different counts put the film's total on-screen kills at over 100, with some estimates going as high as 123 or 124. This makes Dr. Griffin one of the deadliest horror movie villains of that classic period. Jumping to more modern times, The Cabin in the Woods, 2011, has a pretty unique setup. While it starts with a group of college kids getting picked off in typical horror style, the film's climax unleashes an entire facility full of monsters on its staff. This leads to at least 56 on-screen kills. But the ending hints at a global apocalypse, because they fail to appease some ancient gods, which could theoretically send the body count into the billions. For confirmed on-screen kills just within that facility massacre though, it's a hefty number. Other movies known for a lot of on-screen carnage include Us, 2019, where doppelgangers start mass killings across the country, racking up over 66 kills. The vampire movie 30 Days of Night, 2007, sees a horde of vampires wipe out an entire Alaskan town, leading to a body count of over 60. Slasher franchises also pile up some impressive numbers over their series. Freddy Krueger from A Nightmare on Elm Street is credited with around 79 kills across his movies, including some historical and meta-references. Michael Myers, in his original Halloween timeline, is estimated to have a kill count of up to 72. Even Samara from the English-language The Ring films has a surprisingly high tally, mostly thanks to a plane crash in Rings 2017 that killed 156 people, bringing her total across 3 films to 169 on-screen human deaths. Pinhead from the Hellraiser franchise is cited with over 256 kills, though the continuity of its many sequels can get a bit tangled. Then you've got films like Antrum, the deadliest film ever made, 2018. This one is fascinating because its deadliness is entirely part of its marketing gimmick and story. Antrum is presented as a lost, cursed 1970s film that supposedly caused the deaths of nearly 60 people, including a fictional 1988 Budapest theatre fire where 56 viewers allegedly died. Here's the kicker though, these stories are completely made up as part of the film's mockumentary style. No real deaths have actually been linked to screenings of Antrum. Its deadly reputation is a cleverly crafted illusion, a piece of meta-horror. This is a big difference from the other films we've talked about, where the deaths are either super rare real-world medical events or clearly fictional on-screen body counts. Antrum messes with the very idea of a film being lethal, turning that concept itself into the horror. The sheer amount of on-screen death in some of these movies, especially ones showing apocalyptic events or citywide massacres, serves different purposes. Sometimes it's for shock, sometimes to show how big a threat is, and sometimes it's even played for dark laughs. It's a testament to the endless possibilities of fiction, where the only body count that really matters is the one that helps tell the story. So, we've looked at 2 very different kinds of lethal horror films. Those unsettling, rare stories of real-world audience deaths, And then the fictional bloodbaths of on-screen carnage. The alleged real-world deaths, often linked to movies like The Creeping Unknown and The Conjuring 2, are undeniably tragic and disturbing. But it's really important to stress that these are isolated incidents, almost always involving people with pre-existing health conditions, where extreme emotional stress might have been a terrible catalyst. There's no solid evidence suggesting any horror film has directly caused widespread deaths among its viewers. The human body can react pretty intensely to fear, but for the overwhelming majority of us, it's a temporary physical response, not a life-threatening one. On the flip side, films like The Invisible Man or The Cabin in the Woods use death as a storytelling tool, racking up huge body counts for dramatic or shocking effect. These on-screen kills are a kind of spectacle, all contained within the safe playground of fiction. They thrill us, they shock us, but they don't pose any actual physical danger. The deadliest film, in this sense, is just the one with the most creative or numerous fictional endings. Movies like Antrum cleverly blur these lines, building a myth of real-world danger around a fictional thing. It taps into our fascination with cursed objects and the power of suggestion. Ultimately, the idea of a film literally killing you is such a potent horror concept, because movies do have a massive ability to affect us. They poke at our deepest fears, our anxieties, and our most primal reactions. While the real-world cases are exceptionally rare and usually more complicated than a simple film-caused death scenario, they're a stark reminder of just how intense cinema can be. The true horror, maybe, isn't in the films themselves, but in that fragile line between the stories we watch and the realities our bodies live through. For most, it's a thrill. For a very, very few, it has allegedly been something much more final. What do you think about all this? Ever felt a movie affect you physically? Or do you know any other stories like these? Let us know down in the comments. And if you found this look into the deadliest horror films interesting, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe for more explorations into the world of cinema, and ring that notification bell so you don't miss our next trip into the fascinating and sometimes frightening. Stay safe and watch wisely.